Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thanks for joining us here. It truly is a magnificent Monday. We have an excellent show in store for you. Get a chance to start things off talking with the chairman of the Human Rights Commission. 1 o'clock, well, you want to know what's happening in the Prospect community. Well, we can give you an update. And then 1:30, I say Barkers. Some of you with such intonation say Barkers and other things. Well, we got to talk about Barkers and that plan to dredge and excavate and do other things. Well, let's see if we get a perspective. There's a meeting on Tuesday I want to tell you about. So that's what's going to happen in today's show. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Honored to be able to welcome again to our studio the chairman of the Human Rights Commission, Mr. James Austin Smith. And thinking about it, not just because it's a Monday, not just because it's Monday, December 10th, but maybe it is. But the fact that we're sort of midpoint between, now and when the year ends, but specifically, the strides we've made, hopefully the promising potential of the year ahead, and as we get ready to enter another decade almost. We haven't looked back pensively, but reflectively, but equally, a sense of expectation. So, James, it's a pleasure to have you on board. Thanks so much for coming on.
No, thanks very much for having me back again.
Some of us look through, this day in history. Some of us always, whether it's because we're preparing for the next, pub quiz or the like. But today is significant, and in many respects, locally as well as internationally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, today it's particularly significant from a human rights standpoint because it is International Human Rights Day, and it's, in fact, a particular anniversary. It's the 70th anniversary of the signing of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, signed 10th of December 1948. Tremendously significant human rights instrument created in the aftermath of the Second World War to try and address some of the horrific human rights violations that took place then and the difficulties that were ongoing with so many displaced people after the end of that war, and to try and ensure those things never happened again. Incredibly important human rights instrument, reflected in our own Bill of Rights in Part 1 of the Constitution, contains very many of the same rights that are set out there. That is what today is every year celebrated as International Human Rights Day, and this year particularly 70th anniversary.
I would see that from that perspective, we've seen the office at times here making attempts to have public celebrations, gatherings and the like. I had I won't ask for us to get into it, but I had an interesting discussion with a few individuals who reminded us of a particular caller that I think is an incredible historian within our own realm, sharing it today too from the Cayman perspective, that assembly of men way back when, on December 10th, sort of positioning themselves for more autonomy, more accountability, more authority, but a semblance of governance. And when we fast forward throughout our own history, where is that, in today's parlance, that agitation for rights of the people? when we look at it in context, we can see that we've come a long ways, and if we work together, we can even make it even better.
Yeah, I mean, the passing of our own constitution in 2009, the new version of the constitution, which contained the Bill of Rights, came into force in 2012. Tremendously important step for Cayman, bringing those rights home into our own law, making them Cayman rights for people who live here in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, and irrespective of your sort of immigration status in a sense, it applies to you because of the aspect of expectation as a person, what you should be treated.
Absolutely. It applies to anyone. I mean, it's as simple as human rights. It applies to all humans. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights called that because it applies universally to everyone across all cultures. It was drafted by people from a hugely diverse background. These aren't just sort of Western rights that were put together by the victors at the end of the Second World War. This was rights taken with the input of people from around the globe and drafted to reflect certain rights that everyone has. And the same here in the Cayman Islands, those rights apply to all humans, whether you were born here and you've been here for 9 generations as your family, whether you're here on a work permit, whether you're here on holiday, whether you're a Cuban boat arriving by boat, probably not intending to come to the Cayman Islands, trying to go somewhere else. But if you're literally washed up on our shores, these rights apply to you as well.
Yeah. And think about it, would you not want that if you were traveling somewhere else and something happened? Basic rights that provide some level of safety and security. From that perspective, though, as we look at it, and I may ask of you, maybe at some point going forward, potentially, what sort of changes, both locally and international, with respect to human rights that we could see? Maybe the Cayman context first. We see it being from the government with respect to the people as opposed from person to person. But in that vein, any potential amendments, improvements, adjustments that could help it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you alluded to 2 things. I mean, first, the key point about the Bill of Rights in our Constitution is it applies what they call vertically. In other words, it applies between the government and the individual. It doesn't apply between individuals. So I would have no rights against you personally, and you'd have no rights against me from the Constitution, from the Bill of Rights. So it applies, it's certain rights that government have got an obligation to respect as against each one of us. In terms of changes, I mean, both the Universal Declaration, our own Bill of Rights in our Constitution, all the other hugely important human rights instruments, the European Convention, what have you, these are designed to be living instruments. These are not designed to be a document that is set at a fixed point in time. And so when the Universal Declaration was signed in 1948, the people who wrote it then couldn't possibly have anticipated some of the challenges that people face now. So things like rights to privacy and data protection and the internet age, these are issues no one could have anticipated. I mean, in general terms, they can understand it. And so the Constitution and the human rights instruments are interpreted to give effect to the spirit of those pieces of legislation in a modern context.
And what on data protection is one of the things we wanted to check and maybe have a brief discussion with the fact that the government now has announced, well, we'll postpone implementation in order to allow, presumably, the financial sector and the financial services providers to be able to, get a little bit more prepared.
Yeah, it's very difficult because the Human Rights Commission commented, I mean, I haven't looked at it for a little while, but we commented on the draft data protection law some years ago, and it's a very difficult drafting exercise, and I have, for anyone who does legislative drafting, they have my sympathy because whenever you finish doing whatever you're doing, then people like me pour all over it and tell them where they got it wrong. And it's very difficult to draft something. It's much easier to criticise it. But for data protection in particular, you've got complex and technical issues which require specific issues addressing and exemptions and what have you. And so you have to draft a document that covers all these eventualities in careful technical detail. But at the same time, you've got to write something that members of the public can understand. You shouldn't have to need a law degree to understand what these documents are intending to do and what your rights and obligations are under them. And it's a really difficult balance to hit.
As you say that too, sometimes the interpretation and the intent sometimes doesn't always come across. I was thinking of just a discussion recently again with the iguanas, the fact that presumably the Parliament intended only to protect the blue, not the invasive green, but somehow, in that whole process, there seems to be a bit of confusion with, as it is with the other things. But in this instance, though, when we look at human rights, maybe what we're trying to protect and to preserve, maybe what we're trying to, sort of carve out in law, gets lost in translation?
I hope it doesn't. I mean, it is difficult, as I say, because you want to create a document that works on one level when it's being analysed by the Privy Council after technical submissions from QCs. But you also want a document that you can go into schools and I can sit down with children and say, well, this is what this means for you in simple language. And to strike that balance is difficult. But as far as our own Constitution and the Bill of Rights contained in that, as you know and you'll recall, there was a huge amount of debate around all sorts of issues. It was looked at very carefully by a huge cross-section of people. Human Rights Committee, as it then was, had an input, government, of the private sector, UK, Professor Jowl, obviously a constitutional expert, giving his expert technical input, and it didn't contain everything that everyone wanted. It put in some things that some people didn't want. But as always, these are you've got to try and get as many different views and conflicting positions, sometimes conflicting positions, incorporated in one document. And obviously, what we got in our Bill of Rights leans very heavily on that original Universal Declaration, and to an extent the treaties that have come since, including the European Convention, various other treaties globally that respect these rights, which are for everyone, whoever they are, across all cultures, just by virtue of the fact that they are human.
We do have a call online. As normal, Ms. Susan is the boss and she's in charge. The Chairman of the Human Rights Commission, Mr. James Austin Smith, is our guest. Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and good afternoon to your guest.
Hey, good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Afternoon.
I'm fine. I just want you to allow me, please, Dwayne, to address some issues in the matter of human rights, because, as you know, this subject is important for me because, if you see what's happening in Cayman, unfortunately, we have a human rights committee who live in other valley of this country, it seems, and they don't hear, or they don't know, or they try to blind them eyes and deaf their ears for the abuse of human rights being done by the immigration department, for example, by the government, the abuse of people's rights who voice their voice. My case is a very strong example. I never think to go complain to the Human Rights Committee. Number one, I have no trust in this committee because the members never show any interest to defend the Caymanian people. They are interested most of the time in individual cases of gays or homosexuals, and this is not the only issue in this society. The human rights to achieve or to reach goals or to reach results. I think this human rights show a failure. So far, I never see any achievement for this Human Rights Committee. I never see them defending really the rights of the people who come to live in this country, who try to get their rights. I don't see ever this Human Rights Committee defend the human rights, and they are sitting there in these air-conditioned offices as they don't see.
But you have shared. I mean, I certainly always believe that, irrespective if it's vitriolic or even productive, for people to share. But I'm trying to think now where are you going? If you haven't made, as you said, in an attempt to bring your case forward, then is your commentary constructive or just critical?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Smith himself, I'm very sure he read in the newspaper what happened to me in this country. and he never opened his mouth and say nothing. Not even members of this committee so-called human rights, and they are far away from the human rights. They never open their mouth when the government imprisoned me for 4 days for voicing my opinion. The threats I received from the acting chief immigration officer because I voiced my voice, and never this human rights committee opened their mouth and say nothing.
Well, fair enough. Maybe stick up in it. And on one hand, Mr. Smith, sometimes it is, good to be able to get personal examples. Other times it may be out of context and, it'll place. But
yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for me to comment on your caller's particular circumstances because I don't know anything about it. And even if I did, I don't think I'd be commenting on his personal case on the radio. I'd probably be encouraging him to write to the Commission, visit our website, go on Facebook. But I mean, he makes 2 points, and they're interesting points because they're criticisms that get levelled at the Commission a lot. Mm-hmm. The first was, I think, essentially, look, all you do is deal with gay rights, and we never hear from you about anything else. That's one that really grates with well, for me anyway. Certainly, whenever I get involved in anything in media, issue a press release, do TV or radio, when I talk about gay rights, it leads to an explosion of interest. It's a subject which, rightly, creates a huge amount of debate on both sides of it. People feel very strongly about it. But when I talk about other things, and I issue press release about other issues, or when we do work on other issues, it is a source of frustration for us that people just don't seem to realise. I mean, last year we dealt with voting rights. We did UN shadow reports on torture and rights of women. We talked about electronic vehicle licensing. We did mental health policy. We did Cayman Airways employee handbook. We talked about prohibited immigrants. We did the cancer registry. We wrote about Cuban migrants. We talked about Earth Day. We talked about anti-bullying. We talked about mental health and suicide in young people. These issues are tremendously important. And whilst non-discrimination in the context of LGBT rights is hugely important in Cayman, so are each of those issues. Teen suicide is a hugely important issue. The rights of people who are arriving on boats, risking their lives to set out and leave Cuba, hugely important. Data protection issues associated with the cancer registry, hugely important. But when I talk about these issues, and you and I come along and when we talk about it, it's very, as I say, it's frustrating that the column inches that are developed in the blogs and the articles and the comments from people always come back to that one issue, which is such an emotive issue, and I understand why it is. But there are other things that human rights touch on and which the Commission finds tremendously important that affect the lives of people who live here in Cayman every single day.
When we come back, now, could we ask of you perhaps a couple of things, but including this whole issue of someone who feels aggrieved, they feel that the government or some agency has done them something that's injurious. What can they do? How should they go about it? Just generally speaking, maybe we could ask them to revisit the issue of vehicle licensing and that report you talked about where people saying, well, am I being tracked? And little things like that. In the studio, the chairman of the Human Rights Commission, Mr. James Austin Smith, is our guest. The phone lines are open. If you want to clarify something, you want to pose a question, share a comment. Hey, today, as we celebrate, birthdays of loved ones, but it's also, the 70th anniversary of the passage. And I think as we look at the Declaration of Human Rights, it's important, as today is International Human Rights Day. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
I didn't mean to hurt her. Work was tough. We're struggling financially. I had a few drinks to relax, but then the argument started. It was a mistake to hit her. Now I don't have a job. I don't have a wife. I can't afford to feed my family. This was a hard lesson to learn. Never forget that walking away from something unhealthy is brave. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
The Stop the Slap campaign, proudly sponsored by Foster's IGA. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
All
On the 6th day of Christmas, Foster's gave to me an iPad Pro with Apple Pencil and Keyboard. Shop today only to be entered to win an iPad Pro with Apple Pencil and Keyboard, brought to you by Tropicana. Purchase specially marked products to enter the Foster's IGA 12 Days of Giving. Visit us in-store or online. And check us out on social media to see all our sponsors, the daily prizes, and the 3 grand prizes, free groceries for up to a year. Learn more at fosters-iga.com.
I am worried about my employees' health insurance. Are there any companies out there that I can rely on for great coverage, affordable payments, and who will work to make the switch as easy as possible? Or am I asking for too much?
You sound like you need Fidelity Health. At Fidelity, they offer great coverage through a highly rated and trusted carrier, payments I can afford, and with no on-island deductible on all the plans they offer. Best of all, they offered my company 50% back on the first month's premium.
This is too important. Today's the day I am switching to Fidelity Health.
Make the easy switch to Fidelity today and get 50% cash back on your first month's premium until December 31st. Call 949-7822 to make your switch now.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Exclusive. Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca.
The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of Fitness Plus and Train with Dre.
Get top-rated personal training or build your very own home or office gym today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us as we have a chance to continue discussing with the Chairman of the Human Rights Commission, Mr. James Austin Smith. Prior to the break, we were asking someone who feels, well, maybe, in my engagement with government, I feel a bit aggrieved. Now, I may not be the best word to use, but let's see. How do they know two things? One, whether this is something that I should take to the Human Rights Commission, or maybe it's the Complaints Commission. And two, if I decide to go to the Human Rights Commission, how do I navigate that? Do I go get a lawyer? Do I come knock on your door? What do we do?
Well, that's a really good question, because there's the various bodies that are set up under the Constitution and separate laws as well, in case of the Complaints Commissioner, for to assist with, they're called the institutions protecting democracy in the Constitution. Right. And you've got the Constitutional Commission, various other people, and obviously ourselves on there. I'd say that the first approach for anyone, if they're not sure, is to get online. Go to the Human Rights Commission's website. It's easy. Google Human Rights Cayman, you'll find us. And similarly, go on to the Ombudsman or the Complaints Commissioner's website as well. All of these bodies now have got really good websites. We spend a lot of time redeveloping ours, as did the rest of the constitutional commissions. And they'll tell you can see on there, in hopefully relatively straightforward language, where our areas of responsibility are, and how you can, whether it's something we should be dealing with, or whether someone else should be dealing with. The other thing to do is just get in touch with us if you think you've got a human rights an issue for the Human Rights Commission. You can just contact us. Again, go on the web page, phone us up 244-3685. Go to Facebook, and you can there's on the website you can just click and follow it through and make a complaint to the Human Rights Commission. And we work with these other bodies as well. If something comes in for us and it looks like actually it is a Constitutional Commission matter, then we'll pass it on to them. Or if it's a Complaints Commissioner matter, we might tell someone, oh no, actually you need to be speaking to the complaints commissioner about that. So hopefully between us we find our way through.
And this is it, I think, as people get sort of not just accustomed, familiar, knowledgeable, but almost to the perspective where they are sufficiently grounded. This is where we are, this is what we do. I think the Commission's Secretary has continued to do a great job relative to its education outreach, whether it's in the schools that you reference or in the media, not just on days like today, but just generally speaking. As you were sharing earlier, relative to the different reports you've issued throughout the year, maybe us in the media, maybe us as people, we like the sensational things, the emotive things, because they stir the pot, they drive interest and the like. But the one I thought may have gained more traction, may have gained much more play, was just that vehicle licensing and the potential impact on our rights or freedoms. Could it be invasion of privacy and the like? How do you balance that with the government's right to say, well, let's make sure that we have this? That report in particular, give us a perspective.
Yeah, so we received, this was a little while ago now, last year, but we got a complaint from a member of the public saying, look, they're going to be tracking us, what's going on here? And so we wrote to vehicle licensing, and they came back to us very quickly in a very comprehensive report and said, look, we're just not going to do that. The technology isn't there to do that. We don't have the facilities to do it, and we're not going to be doing it. I mean, I can't remember the details of it all now, but effectively what it was designed to do was to ensure that the process of making sure people got their vehicles licensed and linking them to their number plates and what have you was done more efficiently using technology rather than someone having to input it all in or by hand or however they were doing it before that. So when we looked at it and when we spoke with the licensing agency, they said this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. And there was no suggestion of anyone being tracked or followed round. It wasn't a sort of Orwellian Big Brother's watching you wherever you go type situation. And on that basis, we decided that there wasn't any sort of breach of the right to privacy or anything like that, because what was being done was reasonable. It had a legitimate objective, and the way it was being done was proportionate to that legitimate objective. And so when you judge actions taken by government against the obligations and rights in the Bill of Rights, you say, is it reasonable? Is it what's its objective? And is the way of going about it sensible and proportionate? If it is, then there's no breach, and that was the conclusion we reached in that case.
I was looking at that whole, saw your report, and I'm glad that you referenced it, because I'm hoping that as a public, all of us, as we are affected by the laws that are passed, that some of the policies that are being proposed, that we appreciate there's a need for us as a citizen to make input, not just leave it for the policymakers or for that potential applicant to make some process through the courts. Now, when we travel from that perspective and we go internationally, we see that maybe it's our vehicles that can potentially be tracked and the like. Perhaps we'll continue that, but Susan reminds us we have another caller join us. Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you today?
Good man. Sterling, I got to be brief again.
Yeah, man.
This afternoon, right? Give me 2 minutes now. Let me elaborate something now.
Please.
Right? Here to be now. The former governor, Chowdhury, right? The former commissioner, Beans, right? Right? The whole modus operandi, or mode of operating was, right? They were looking into decriminalizing marijuana. Right? Look at the caliber. One representative of the FCO, and one a commissioner, civil servant, right? Police. Same be the dog, right?
Okay.
So, right? They are lost, right? Being resigned and whatever conflict or conspiracy with Chowdhury, yeah, not the question, right? But look at their ranks, right? Installing the budget meeting now, right? This topic of marijuana, right? Legalizing, right? I bet you anything, right? If I go to referendum, that will right away, out of proportion, right away.
It'll be approved.
Yeah, right away, yeah. Because Cayman have a tendency to be contemporary, old school, right? Like I say again, modern times, new era, right? Like I say again, children, and I think it's second or third week, you got paper, you like look into it, right? To decriminalize marijuana, right? It's simple lifestyle, right? It's accepted different way, different habits in the world, starting, like one thing I say, right? Sterling, you listen to reggae, what?
Yeah, I listen to you.
You listen to reggae?
Say again?
You listen to reggae?
Yeah, man.
Oh, look here. You see Peter Tosh? Yeah, legalize it. Simple. And you see which professions would do it then, or no. That's the whole point, Jimmy.
All
right? Cool, Sterling.
Okay, man, okay. Now, the caller gets perspective sometimes asking when we have representation on different bodies, and is it something that's indicative of the populace, or is it perceived, whether deliberate device, to be skewed in a certain direction? I think his comments like his sort of ask us the question, to what level are we participating as a people in some of these things, and do we have access to maybe when a commission is being created or the board is being appointed, does it reflect the general populace?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and obviously commissions should reflect the wider public, and I think they do to a great extent. I mean, certainly the Human Rights Commission, we are very lucky with the people that we have on our commission. I'm the only male, so we've got 4 females on the commission. Part of the which is great because for obvious reasons, but we've got to have 2 lawyers, so I'm one of the lawyers. We've got another lawyer on there, and then we try and ensure that we get as broad a cross-section of society represented as possible from various members of the public. It's difficult to do because part of it, you've got to find people who are prepared to give up their time to do these things, and people who have an interest and an element of expertise in the matter. And as I say, we've been extremely lucky. I've been on the Human Rights Commission now for 4 years, and of the various people who have volunteered their time to be on that commission, which is frequently a thankless task, and they spend a great deal of time. We've been lucky, and Cayman Public's been very lucky to have some excellent people on it. Mm-hmm. And as you alluded to earlier, we've also been extremely lucky with the Commission Secretariat who provide us help. And we've got three people on that Commission Secretariat, and they have to provide resources and support for all of the constitutional commissions. And it's a very full-time job. They're constantly busy, and they do a brilliant job.
Indeed, man. I think there's another caller as we go to our phones. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne,
good afternoon,
and good afternoon to your guest.
Welcome. How are you?
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm okay, Dwayne. Thank you. I need to ask Mr. Smith some questions, and then I need to make some comments.
I almost want to joke and say, should I swear him in? But,
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
The question number 1, Mr. Smith, do you have anything to do with educated people with master's degree and still cannot get a Caymanian, not Caymanian by paper, Caymanian, still can't get a livable salary job, has a master's degree in law, speak a few languages, has worked overseas in Australia, in Hong Kong, in Guernsey, and worked for several law firms here. He had a mishap of being accused, went to court, threw it out, but the court ran on for years and years. And it seems like everyone we talk to, every application that he has made to government jobs that he can do, probably with his eyes closed, probably can do better than those that are interviewing him with the phones stuck up in their arms. Do you have anything to do with that, sir?
Well, it's an interesting question. I'm obviously you're referring to a specific individual, and I'm not really in a position to comment on an individual case, and I don't think it'd be fair for you or whoever the individual is for me to do that because I just don't know enough about the facts. But it's a question we get asked very often. In fact, I was asked it earlier today by somebody about employment and human rights, and the short answer is there is no right to employment in the Constitution of the Cayman Islands, in the Bill of Rights. There are rights to a series of things, including not to be tortured, personal liberty, fair trial, private life, freedom of expression, those sort of big ticket issues, education for young people. But it doesn't. There is no right to a job in the Constitution. So that would not be something that we would deal with on our Human Rights Commission.
Yes, Tom.
With that, because I know Miss Juliana, Minister Juliana O'Connor Connolly is the minister. One that her portfolio is labor, but politicians after politicians is just one thing on their lips, except when it comes to election time, is we'll see what we can do. In the meantime, my son, well, you can't take away education, but it has put him in a mode that it's not only depressing to us for him to be so educated and he can't use what education he has. And I don't know, you just explained to me that it's no, but what does human rights say for you then? Because I also know, Mr. Smith, that you're the lawyer for Bank of Nova Scotia. Am I right?
I've got a lot of clients as a lawyer. But that's not really what I'm here to talk about today. I'm trying to talk about human rights. I'm here in my sort of capacity as the chairman of the Human Rights Commission. I've got so many clients. I suspect
All right.
we could talk about them for a very long time indeed.
But Charlene, let's maybe continue the conversation separately. Let's pause to take a short break. When we come back, more talk today.
Kubo Restaurant and Lounge. Cayman's only Pan-Asian restaurant and lounge is now open for lunch.
Taste the traditional flavors of Asian cuisine fused with your modern flair in Kubo's new sushi menu. With lunch delivery from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, you can bring the Asian fusion flavors of Kubo and your sushi platter to your office today. Kubo Restaurant and Lounge is located in the Strand next to the eatery and below Lily's nightclub.
Now open for lunch. That's right, now open for lunch with a new sushi menu and delivery. Visit kubo.ky. That's kuboh.ky or call 947-4513 to place your order.
I didn't mean to hurt her. Work was tough. We're struggling financially. I had a few drinks to relax, but then the argument started. It was a mistake to hit her. Now I don't have a job. I don't have a wife. I can't afford to feed my family. This was a hard lesson to learn. Never forget that walking away from something unhealthy is brave. Stop to slap. Stop to cycle. Stop the violence.
The Stop the Slap campaign has been proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
It's more than what we do. It's who we are. We were your official bank of the quincentennial celebrations in 2003. We were your Bank of the Year 4 times. We were voted as the inaugural top employer in 2010. We were the inaugural Business of the Year awardee in 2017. Who are we? We are Cayman National, your local bank, proudly serving you for over 40 years. It's because of you that our journey continues.
Matt Brown and Rita Estevanovich star in the Cayman Christmas Comedy Show. A gift from the CNCF to you.
Yay!
Hey, Christmas comedy show. I am excited.
Well, I don't want to see it.
Too bad. You're in it.
Me in a show?
It's the bestest, most festivus Christmas show ever. Coming to your district between December 11th to 16th. Visit Facebook/Cayman Culture for all the details. Yes. I am going. Definitely I am going.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, the chairman of the Human Rights Commission, Mr. James Austin Smith, is our guest. And, we celebrate today, I think, in many respects. And they may be kicking ice cream for some. For others, it may just be, wow, we've come so far and yet we've got so much, further to go. But the 70th anniversary of the Declaration of Human Rights. And then, as we look at International Human Rights Day, December 10th, equally, someone will remind us that that assembly of men at Pedro St. James way back when on this date, significant steps towards maybe understanding their history. From that perspective, Mr. Chairman, when we look at, again, as you mentioned, some of the potential changes and challenges locally and internationally, whether it's, let me ask, someone commented earlier to me this morning, we're seeing this whole issue of Brexit. Many are looking at it from the perspective of the economic and or the political impact. But human rights and issues of passports and the like, any potential impact from that perspective?
I mean, it's very difficult to comment on Brexit for all sorts of reasons, not least because we're not quite sure how it's going at the moment. And you've probably seen the news this morning of the vote being delayed in the UK, so who knows where that may end up. But what a lot of people sometimes mistake is the European Union and membership of that, and the membership of the European Convention on Human Rights, which is ultimately a court to which everyone in Cayman has the right to go on appeal on human rights issues. The two are very separate. And so whatever happens with Brexit, whether it does happen, and the UK will still be a signatory to the Convention on Human Rights, and the Cayman Islands will still, people here in Cayman will still have the right to take cases to that court to enforce their rights through its processes.
And I appreciate you allowing us to just ask that, because I think the clarity, and we may look at it and think it's all, as you said, one and the same, but very separate and distinct. Whatever the political or economic debate and discussion and decision is relative to Brexit and the EU membership, separate and apart.
Completely separate treaty, separate obligations.
For the general public, then, as we look at the significance of today, both locally and internationally, and some of those rights under the sort of charter from the UN, and the notion that you sort of have the right not to be tortured. You think, that should be a no-brainer. But how many other people across the globe have been affected by under the guise of war or terrorism or something else, right?
Absolutely. I mean, these rights. We are fortunate in Cayman because our government, to a great extent, it supports and protects and doesn't infringe these rights. But there are people globally who are in all sorts of difficulty. There's child labour. There's, I think, the number of journalists who were killed this year. I lost track of the numbers, but it's well into triple figures. So that impinges on the right to freedom of expression. And there's obviously a very famous recent case in Turkey with Mr. Khashoggi. So, that's these rights aren't just illusory, that something that happened back 70 years ago and we're never going to go there again. These are rights that are being infringed. There are millions of refugees globally. There are human rights abuses being perpetrated against people because of their religion, because of their gender, whatever, globally. And they are rights that we need to stand up for on a daily basis, and we can't just take them for granted. And so that's why this convention is 70 years later still as relevant today as it was, and still as important as it was when it was signed back in Paris in 1948.
Some would say even more so. They need to champion it to make sure that it protects those rights as you shared.
Well, memories can fade. And in 1948, 3 years after the end of the Second World War, memories were very, very clear indeed about what had happened there. But it's important that we don't forget that protecting these rights involves engagement by not just by governments, but by
ordinary citizen,
by the ordinary citizen, by you and I, by standing up, doing what you do, talking on the radio, journalists holding government to account, people involving themselves in their community and taking ownership of their rights and their responsibilities.
And as you shared, whether it's financing of terrorism, whether it's participating in that whole notion of human trafficking and the like. I appreciate you're not only coming on this day, but as you have in the past, and as we look at it, any closing thoughts you may want to share with us?
No, I mean, I'd encourage, really, I suppose what I would do is I encourage your listeners and the public generally to get involved in finding out about what the Human Rights Commission does. There's a lot of, we've addressed one or two of the sort of preconceptions or perhaps misunderstandings about what we do. Go and visit our website. Google Human Rights Cayman and go to the Human Rights Commission website. Look at what we're doing. Look at what we're trying to do. Get involved. And if you've got a complaint, make one. Go to the website, and we'll see what we can do to help with those issues and those complaints. These are tremendously important issues. These are real issues, and they're your rights in your constitution.
And they affect us on a daily basis. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time. May this week be exceptionally productive and enjoyable for you and your team.
Thanks very much, Sterling.
All right. Dear listeners, we'll pause and take a break. When we come back from our headline news at 1, Miss Sabrina Turner will join us 1:30. Please, stay tuned because we want you to be a part of that discussion. But at 1:30, I want to talk about the issue relative to the proposed works up in the Marcus area. Tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. at the West Bay United Church Hall, there's a public meeting. Mr. Handel Whitaker is expected to be in attendance, so you've got a chance to preview that. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. A 28-year-old Georgetown man heads to court today to answer charges of assaulting police, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct, among several others. Police say those first 3 charges stem from an incident on December 5th, when officers responded to a report that a man was causing a disturbance on Maple Road in Georgetown. Police say the man behaved aggressively when approached by officers and assaulted one of them. He was taken into custody. The other charges stem from incidents in April, September, and October involving the man and a person he knew. In international headlines, British opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn is challenging Prime Minister Theresa May's decision to delay a vote on Brexit in the House of Commons, arguing that her government is, quote, in complete disarray. Lawmakers shouted resign as May wrapped up her remarks today, adding further insult to the humiliation of failing to deliver on her signature piece of legislation, the Brexit divorce deal from the European Union. The Associated Press says U.S. President Donald Trump is in denial when it comes to the Russia investigation and some of the other scandals besieging him. The president insists he's been fully vindicated by court filings released Friday that lay out the level of cooperation from 2 of his former advisors, whom prosecutors have accused of lying to federal investigators or Congress. But AP says Trump's Justice Department puts him in even greater legal jeopardy by directly implicating him in an illegal scheme involving hush money payments to a porn actress and a former Playboy model. A steady trickle of Central American migrants have been finding ways to climb over, tunnel under, or slip through the U.S. border wall to plant their feet on U.S. soil and ask for asylum. Among them, Honduran migrant Joel Mendez, who fed his 8-month-old son Daniel before handing him over to his partner, who had crawled through a hole in the rain-softened soil under the wall. Associated Press journalists say they're seeing an increasing number of people taking the shortcut to skipping the long official wait on the Mexico side for filing asylum claims with the U.S. Those are your headlines. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
CUC advises customers in West Bay between the Hell Gift Shop and Hell Road East to and including Dill Lane on Reverend Blackman Road and south on Town Hall Road to and including Billy Mandersing Drive that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Wednesday, December 12th between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Areas affected on Hell Road include Fountain Road up to and including Agua Lane, and areas affected on Town Hall Road include Billy Mandersing Drive and Sanchez Villas. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing Hell Road, Reverend Blackman Road, and Town Hall Road, as CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in these areas. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to upgrade line hardware and provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage and areas and streets affected, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
A trip to New York City is the experience of a lifetime. Starting this December, Cayman Airways will be offering daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to New York City. That's right, Cayman Airways is going daily to New York City starting this December. Stroll through Central Park or take in the bright lights of Times Square, enjoy a Broadway show or visit museums, the Empire State Building, and so much more. Whether you're visiting for business or pleasure, you'll fall in love with New York City. And daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman aboard Cayman Airways starting this December. For details and to book, call Cayman Airways reservations at 949-2311. Contact a travel agent or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Sure. What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's new kitchen and bath center.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us. And if there's ever a time or a way you think I can do it and do it more often and do it better, well, let me know. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. But I don't think that time would be today, because in the studio, the wonderful company, our next set of guests, I can only get better. Serena Turner, thank you so much. You know, they say what behind every great man is a greater woman. We can imagine when you got a great woman with great women behind them.
And gentlemen, a few gentlemen.
And one gentleman.
Well. No, but as we laugh and recognize that a community that is involved and certainly engaged as the prospect community in particular, it's a great example. And I think I like the idea of what a CERT is and the fact that it's seems to gain traction across the entire country. Yeah. I saw the training recently that HMCI did in the BRAC, and phenomenal turnout for the BRAC citizens. But Mr. Rita, as the community leader for Prospect, and as you have the opportunity, I look to my right and to my left and ask you to do the formal introductions of your team.
Yeah, this is some of the executive team. A few could not make it, and it's just a matter of letting people know that even though I am the incumbent leader for this Prospect Red Bay Community Group, it is not just me. we are a team. It's not I, it's not me, it's us. And I'm pleased to have in studio with me today my deputy, Mr. Mark Rickman, and Ms. Carrico, who's in charge of all of our PR stuff and everything in between. And also Ms. Marilyn Connolly. She is one of our secretaries for the Pross Bay Red Bay Community Group. And we're here today to promote our upcoming potluck Christmas party that's going to be taking place this Saturday. And I will not take over the mic. I will give everyone their opportunity as well to share in what it's taking to get this party, one, off the ground, and to also educate the community about what our community group is. Many a times we're hearing, this is Mr. Alden's group, this is Mr. Austin's group. It's all about educating people. We're not an election, we're not a political group. We are a neutral group, and Marilyn spearheads her Admiral's Landing community. Ms. Carr is a civil servant. So if we were in any way a politically motivated group, we would not have as many civil servants such as herself, Gina, Mr. Richard Sims, and Mr. Timothy Tomlinson, who's also very active members of the group.
Yeah. Something, and not today, and only because, and I'm glad you shared that, maybe in the new year I have an idea of something to do, but in the Cayman context, we draw from so many people, and if it becomes whichever, but the idea that you got civil servants and former civil servants, you have, people who are stalwarts in their own lives.
Private sector.
Harbour House Marina.
Harbour House Marina.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, and Mr. Mark, from that perspective, right?
Yes.
And the last time you were on, and the laughter and the banter that we had, but the information we shared.
Yes.
You share this. We bring those skill sets. The neighborhood, the people that live within you. There may be somebody who lives in your neighborhood who is a phenomenal, electrician, for instance.
Correct. Mr. Benny.
Yeah.
Benny Moore is a plumber.
And it's so funny because I was by his house around 7 this morning asking for plumbing bits because I had bust a pipe outside this morning. Anyway, but we fixed it.
I was at my brother's asking for chocolate bits.
So, I mean, if he wasn't right down the road, you know what I mean, and he just got straight out and he's like, Cara, come, let me get this for you.
But that's the thing, the idea, Ms. Marlin, that this in its formalized sense, bringing communities together, right? You actually get a chance to know your neighbor. A financial service provider expected to know your customer, but you know your neighbor. You develop a very personal working relationship
with everyone.
Gone are the days where we come over with a cup of creamer to get a cup of sugar.
Yes.
But we still need to have that concept.
Yes.
Right, Ms. Warren?
Yes, neighborhoods exist, but it is us who create communities. And that is what we want to do here with this community group. Create that sense of community among people who already live next to each other, work next to each other, relax next to each other, whether it's connecting on issues of stray dogs or derelict vehicles, cleaning up our community, and just connecting to celebrate each other. This is connecting communities.
But also, as neighbors, we're impacted and affected by each other.
Yes.
Deliberately, sometimes, inadvertently, others, where maybe we're having a game of dominoes one night and we're getting a little bit loud. Nothing, out of the way, but we just get a little bit excited. The neighbor has an important date tomorrow. The child has an exam, for instance. If you have a genuine, friendly relationship, you can say, listen, I know it's 2 o'clock in the morning, but just keep it down without it being contentious. But it may not be 2 o'clock in the morning. It may be 8 o'clock in the evening. And you say, listen, we just had, you didn't know. But if you have that relationship, right, Mr. Mark?
Yes, it's all about, community and getting to know your community.
Come on, Karen. It's so cute. Getting to know you. Come on now. Come on, Karen. We know you.
But saying that, a big part of our community that makes us so successful is our WhatsApp group. We have about 300 people in our WhatsApp group, and we basically manage that and manage how the WhatsApp group is used. And if there's any community out there that would like to basically do a study or find out how we did it, you're more than
so we
welcome
have
to invite us. Invite us in.
Put us up a
and then that company, we also launched a security system, I guess, campaign drive.
Based on winnings.
Based on winnings from the CERT and the Red Cross Challenge that we do yearly. And we've been coming in first in the last, 3 years?
3 years.
Yeah, so we use the monies from that to secure security systems for every house in Prospect Red Bay. And that joins in with the WhatsApp group. So as soon as anyone hears an alarm system go off, they can put in the WhatsApp group, hey, so-and-so, my neighbor's alarm system is going off. Can someone check it out?
Yes.
So, I mean, we've been doing big, impactful things that should impact every person in the area.
Something that, I certainly want to ask more about, the event on Saturday evening night, because I think
we
this
got
is
a
where...
lot of sponsors that I would love to mention them.
This is where the community comes together. It's where it used to come together, right? I come and I bring a dish, and over time, you have this legacy where, Mr. Mark's famous breadfruit cake, He's like, come on now.
I'll try.
There you go.
Mr. Bennett.
Curry chicken.
But Ms. Marley, you shared earlier too the notion that you come together, whether they're like vehicles or stray dogs, but these are things that make the community walkable, safer.
Yes.
You can come out to exercise, and it may not just be the crime and that, whether it's the opportunistic approach of someone seeing the community being abandoned and nobody's attentive, but it could be the fact that you can't go to exercise because some yapping dog or some whatever it is, right?
Yes.
And how do you ride your bicycles? How do your children play safer in the communities?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we still in our neighborhood exchange sugar when needed. It happens. But Admiral's Landing in particular, as a subsection of Prospect and Red Bay, we have a neighborhood WhatsApp chat group, which again, in order for it to be managed properly, you have to have certain rules on what can and can't be posted. And we use that as a neighborhood watch to look out for each other, to be our brothers and sisters keepers within the neighborhood. But we also use it as a way to build community spirit. We recently had opened up the neighborhood to Halloween trick-or-treaters for early trick-or-treating for the little ones. And it was a huge hit in our neighborhood. And mind you, that's just for our neighborhood. But again, we are a part of the bigger Prospect Red Bay community. So there's that sense of connection to something in a community bigger than yourself, that we're all responsible for each other.
Something, and I believe this is my perspective, right? I love this country. It's the ability to travel and to see places. To me, that's education. But the ability to come back here. But you also see sometimes the little things that can make a difference. With great respect to all of the other certs, I like what I see within the Prospect of Red Bay, now Admiral's Land, and that connectedness. Because as small as Cayman is, sometimes it is difficult to move from point A to point B, and not just because right, Mr. Mark.
Exactly. I mean, even when you live in the community, most of the time you go to work and you go home, and that's the time you go to work the following day. So that's kind of what this potluck party is about.
Yes.
Meeting the members of the community. Community members can come out and meet us and hear what we are doing.
But it's
and we know food brings people together.
Oh, definitely.
But that is this Saturday night, and to bring it back, we are so pleased with the response that we've gotten so far, and they keep coming in. Even now that we're here on the radio, we have our residents that are telling us what dishes they're going to be bringing in again, and this is all through the community WhatsApp group. But we got to say big thank you to Radio Cayman as our major media sponsor. That was a no-brainer when Radio Cayman was approached. They have given us this opportunity. There are a number of PSAs that are going out reminding people about our event. And we have to also say, if I'm allowed the time, please, to give kudos to CUC, who so graciously allowed us to have a tent so that this event can be happening outside, and they also provided lighting. Now, entertainment this year is sponsored by our two elected officials. That's Honourable Alden McLaughlin, our Premier, and Councillor Harris. They sponsored the Regeneration Band, who will be performing live on a stage. And we got to thank Crown Events, Mr. Colin Simpsons, for that. We will have the Unit Force Disco, Mr. Archie Ball, who will be keeping us entertained for the evening. But there's so much more. Shoreway Express Couriers will be providing transportation for the elderly. Please give us a call, WhatsApp us if you need transportation to and from the event. We're looking for the elderly. That's 922-5276, WhatsApp 922-5287. We've gotten a few cash donations as well, contributions from Acorn Publishing, Miss Joanna Boxall, Even our gas station, Barkham Esso, has promised to bring food for the evening. Harbour House Marina, a gift certificate and beverages. We have Kirk Freeport, who gave us a $50 cash gift card. Tips and Toes, also a gift certificate. Dollar Thrifty Car Rentals, Mr. Robert Smith graciously gave us a voucher. We will be doing prizes throughout the evenings. Funky Times has contributed a rice cooker. A&B Construction, Mr. Stephen Hale and his crew, has given us a cash donation of $500 to make this event possible. Ruth's Kitchen, we got The Kitchen, who is donating also food. I love what Miss Ruth is definitely giving us. Cassava cake, cream of wheat cake, and even baked macaroni and cheese.
It's lunchtime, okay?
Yeah.
Can you just hang on?
And we got the likes of Mr. Rolfie, who just promised cream of wheat have a cake as well. So whether or not this event is successful will not be this exec. This event can only be successful based on the attendance of our people.
If I may ask, though, when we look at it in our communities generally, and this is us, as you said, we need to come out. If our children are playing,
Yes.
in a football match or going somewhere, we need to be in attendance, cheering them on, getting them there. You're talking about Saturday then. The Seafarers Hall is right there, an excellent venue. Right? They had a wonderful function.
Plus parking is now there and the adjacent lot has been cleared.
Exactly. Within the community, I try to remember when I looked last at the statistics of the size of the population. It's not a huge area, but it's still significant.
It's over 3,000 people, what we defined as our catchment area.
Exactly. What I'm saying, but it's still significant relative to the percentage of the population,
Correct.
right? But if you have, 1,500, 2,000 people come out, that is significant.
We're hoping at some point in time we get at least 300 to 500 people. It would be great for everyone to come out.
And that would be fantastic.
It would
we
be
could
fantastic.
close down the whole road.
Yes,
like
we could have a true block
Well, we
party.
can. We can, right? As you shared.
Yes, the
Come
people.
on.
The people. We just want to separate all political lines. This is a community group. Again, I can't hammer this home enough. It is comprised of the residents of our community. I mean, we have the cake studio that has contributed 100 cupcakes, 2 sheet cakes, and a gingerbread house for the children.
Wow.
There's so much more that's been pledged that we wish we could name, but until it's in hand, we don't know.
Yeah.
But right now, where the menu is concerned, the Prospect and Red Bay community people will determine that. We knew what last year brought out, and we had food galore. We were able to distribute to all the other some other people in the community. People were able to take it home, and we're expecting bigger and greater things this year, as you can tell.
But as you shared too, there is the work that goes on to build a community, make it stronger, whether it's the cleanups, whether it's the safety issues. But here's a time of fellowship, especially at Christmas.
Yes.
Come out and taste that cream with the cake we had tried. That breadfruit cake.
Bring one dish and have an entire
just
meal.
one dish and maybe your favorite drink. I mean, it is the case. We're not selling it, and we don't want to promote it in this vein. But at the end of the day, bring your favorite beverage. We will have it well managed. We expect all of our exec and all those persons who may not have been as active as they thought. And I don't want people to think that, all right, I haven't been attending the monthly meetings that this group has. I don't think I should partake, or I don't think it's fair for me to go. Put that aside. We just want everyone to come out. We're even inviting all of the other community group leaders to come out. So this is a way of us to encourage and motivate them as well. We're inviting them and appealing to all the other community group leaders to come out from the various. Miss Heather Bodden and her crew. There's Windsor Park. There's Cheryl and Mr. Dale from Scranton. All of those other Miss Zita May and them from West Bay. Yeah, we want those people to come out.
It speaks to what you were sharing, Cara, earlier, that if you want to see, to me, businesses do it, right?
Yes.
They benchmark, they look at things. Here, for the other search, they can say, well, how did you formulate this? How did you achieve this?
Yes. We are very open if you want to invite us in to try and help you jumpstart it. We are more
here.
than happy to come because we have a pretty successful platform going.
Yes. And everyone benefits at the end of the day. Everyone.
And we don't just add people into our group. They have to be vetted. You have to fill out a certain form. You need to show us proof of ID that you live in the area if you're a renter or owner. If you leave, we expect that you leave. We go through the group at least once a year to make sure that those people, we all know who it is. because it might be the burglars that are in our group watching us as well. So we need to be very careful on who is in our group.
But this goes back to being, know your neighbor,
Yes.
know your community.
That's exactly what it's about.
So pretty much we're tasked with managing 2 WhatsApp chats right now because WhatsApp only allows 256 participants.
Yes.
Because of the distribution drive of the alarms that we had for 3 weeks back to back, the demand for being a part of this group, the mother group of the community, has increased. So we've had to start another community chat.
Correct.
So we're constantly watching and monitoring it so that people won't get turned off because it's just filled up with the nice greetings.
Well, I think it sounds to me that you guys who are much more knowledgeable know, but there are other platforms that you can utilize in order to be able to have a larger group.
Right. Ms. Gay Smith mentioned that the other day.
And this is where I think, given when you announced that you were going to do the security measures and you came on, I thought that was exceptional. It isn't making a police state, it's about making a sense of safety. Ms. Marley, you talked about you live in the community, you know what goes on in your community, you understand how things affect. It could be that there's one particular vehicle that's up and down in the community, just racing or going faster than what you want. Whether the person lives there or not, but being able to reach out to that and have it addressed, it may be a simple measure.
And we should let people know that if you're racing in our community, someone will take your photo of your vehicle and your license plate and will post it in the WhatsApp chat, and you will get a call from our community police officer or someone in authority to tell you not to do it again, because we're all looking out for each other.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad to see that we have this level of community engagement, that we're not waiting for this one or that one, but we're doing it ourselves, and hopefully, as you guys have shared. Now, Mr. Rick, from the perspective of Saturday night, I know Ms. Rubin is going to do her karaoke and she's going to be singing. But tell us what, because it's about food and fun and fellowship, right? Bring the community together.
Yes, it's about fellowship and coming together as a community and meet and greet members, and also to meet the execs and the members of the Prospect Red Bay Community Group.
But something that, assuming if I can, and this is of concern, I think, should be to all of us. We live in a community. It doesn't matter if it's 300 or it's 30 or it's 3,000 or more. Yeah. Sometimes we get so caught up that our very, very good friend who lives in literally the adjoining building next door, we don't see, we don't engage.
Yes.
Because our times and so on. This way, I think you get a chance to really reach out and reconnect.
But it will amaze you how much members of our immediate community still are oblivious to this group that we've been active for over 6 years.
And we're grateful to Radio Cayman for this opportunity to get our message out there. We want to speak to every single person who lives and works in the Prospect Red Bay community, saying, if you can hear us, if you can hear the show, if you know someone who lives there, come out on Saturday night and join us. Bring a drink. It could be a soda, water, whatever you want to bring. Completely up to you. And bring a sense of community and be ready to hang out, socialize, and bring an empty stomach because there's going to be a lot of food and we want a lot of people to eat it.
Well, what I'm hoping for, right,
maybe some fireworks is too. A little bird pinched me that there could be some fireworks.
Oh, so I was thinking you would get two politicians together and some fireworks. So what do you mean?
Actually,
let us be clear for all intents and purposes.
Oh no, that's one thing we don't have. And again, to just let people understand what is known as Prospect Park and this group for what we stand for. We were in existence long before the political boundaries. We just are blessed to what we know as Prospect and our catchment area, that when the electoral boundary lines were actually put in place, we were lucky enough to have 2 representatives. So after the election, after all the campaign, that those boundaries fallen away, we're still one community.
Yes.
Well, I was going to share with you that that's one thing I like with you all coming on with your public engagement, is that hopefully other communities, whether they are established
political
certs,
stuff, drop
right?
it.
Or whether they're thinking about certs. So they use your example and to see it, and it may be a small neighborhood. This is happening. I think Mr. Dale and those guys within town area what they've been doing for years with their get-togethers. We need to do more of that. This is,
And whether you're retired, whether you're at home and you don't really get a lot of company, whether you want to come out and socialize because you haven't for a while, if you're new to our community, you've just moved there from another district, we welcome you. Come out and meet your neighbors.
Yes.
We talk about it a lot in our community. Let's put some action behind it. The hard work has largely been done for you. Just come out and meet your neighbors and have a great time.
And if you want to know anything more about our group, we have a Facebook page. It's Prospect Community Group 345. And that has all of our information there, what we've been up to. If you want to join our WhatsApp group and you live in the area, you can go to the About Us in the website section, and there's a form that you can fill out as well.
Do you think I got time to just repeat, because I don't want to overlook the sponsors?
You see, this almost as if she hosts a talk show.
No, I don't.
I have some experience.
a little bit. But yeah, first of all, big thank you to Radio Cayman as our media. They're definitely getting it out there. Thank you so much. That's why you're number one. We want to thank CUC again for providing the tent and the lighting. Shoreway Express Couriers for transportation of the elderly to and from the event. The Cake Studios for their kind and generous donation of 100 cupcakes to Sheet Cakes, Gingerbread House, Acorn Publishing for their cash donation, Barcam, who has pledged food, our elected officials, Don Ribble Premier and Councillor Harris, for sponsoring the Regeneration Band, Mr. Edlin Miles and his crew, Harbour House Marina for a gift certificate and beverages. We also have fireworks that I said... Councillor Harris promised me that we would be having some sort of fireworks, yes. Crown Events, there also Mr. Colin Simpson has assisted with us with the stage. Ruth's Kitchen, The Kitchen, VIP Services, Miss Nora Ebanks, thank you so much. She sponsored the tables for the event. Kirk Freeport for a $50 gift card. Tips and Toes for a pedicure. We got Dollar Thrifty Car Rental for a voucher there. Mr. Robert Smith and his team. Funky Tangs for their rice cooker. A&B Construction for a cash donation of $500. And Unit Force Disco. Yes, that's Mr. Archie will be entertaining us for the night. There's so much others that I would want to thank. But when I say the Prospect Red Bay community is pulling this all together, and when we look at the community group chat and we're seeing via our community group chat who's bringing what, I'm already hungry.
She's already hungry. Yeah. But and I would love very much for you all, whether as the executive, whether in person or otherwise, to continue to share with us and hopefully inspire other communities to become equally engaged.
Yes,
but as you shared, Ms. Marlene, the idea that this community coming together and bridging, those paths, making sure that we are cognizant of what happens, equally our brother's keeper.
Brothers and sisters keeper.
Yeah.
We are. We look out for each other, young and old alike, those on the road, those breaking the law, and those who need a cup of sugar.
Yes, and even the pets. We look out for our pets
absolutely.
too. And cars that are trying to go into
pets.
canals and we don't understand. We've solved a number of crimes.
Yeah.
Petty thefts. It's all about that camaraderie, and we want to keep that going. And we want this to be infectious. We want other communities to come together. And as I said, and Cara mentioned earlier on, please don't feel any way in approaching any of us. We're more than happy to come on board and assist, bearing in mind we all have our personal lives. We all have our own individual jobs. But this is something that we've gotten, and for the record, we are now officially an NPO. We're a non-for-profit group that was in effect from November 1st, so we're now able to properly do fundraising, and all of those funds will go back to the community. And so we want you to keep abreast of our Facebook page, because we have plans for 2019. But again, that's based on elections as well. Our elections are out. We're inviting new blood. We want to promote this. We want other people to come get involved. You don't necessarily need a title, but we need the hand. We need the support. Based on our constitution, we may not even be here in our seats.
You just need to be willing to improve your community.
That's all we want.
And this is really honest of why I like when you reach out and you join us, because if we get involved as the people who live in our communities, then we shouldn't be the ones who know, because we're the ones who are affected, and we can be the ones who impact the outcomes. And I hope that Saturday evening is a wonderful time of fellowship. Certainly looking forward to the karaoke.
I don't think you'll be seeing much of that. Mr. Rickman, I may make him into Santa. I got an outfit.
Okay.
What do you think? Ho, ho, ho.
And you'd be surprised how some of the older, more senior members in our community love to be the first ones on the dance floor.
Yeah.
She don't know. Well, for what it's worth, it's very impressive from where I sit. And if you are, able to, in a new year, whether it's in relation to your elections prior or after, in any of your initiatives, if our platform can be of value.
Oh, thank you.
Please,
well, you were invited to join us on Saturday.
Of course.
Yes.
They are our major sponsor, all staff of Radio Cayman, yes.
And it's good because the country sees what the communities are doing and how the citizens in each little sector make an impact.
How we're trying to help ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people we're going to call on,
Exactly. People have done it, and they know that if they reach out to either one of us, that they get some response.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes a little quicker than they expect because they're like, wow, they acted on that very quickly.
Well, it's a simple thing. You're affected by it, so maybe you should be part of helping it. But thanks very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy Saturday, but have a blessed
And again, anyone who's listening in the Prospect Red Bay community, come out, join us this Saturday, 15th December, 7 p.m. at the Seafarers Hall in Victory Avenue in Prospect. Come out with a empty belly and ready for fun, food, and fellowship.
It's going to be exterior under a big tent with nice lighting and a stage, and be entertained by the Regeneration Band.
All right, look for fireworks.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, more talk today.
Kubo Restaurant and Lounge. Cayman's only Pan-Asian restaurant and lounge is now open for lunch.
Taste the traditional flavors of Asian cuisine fused with your modern flair and Kubo's new sushi menu. With lunch delivery from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, you can bring the Asian fusion flavors of Kubo and your sushi platter to your office today. Kubo Restaurant and Lounge is located in the Strand next to the eatery and below Lily's nightclub.
Now open for lunch. That's right, now open for lunch with a new sushi menu and delivery. Visit kubo.ky. That's KUBOH.ky or call 947-4513 to place your order.
Oh, this Christmas, Kirk Freeport is wishing everyone peace, love, joy, and $40,000 in prizes. Win one of the multiple $5,000 and $1,000 cash prizes just for shopping at your favorite Kirk Freeport store. Purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. There's even a Rolex watch prize draw on January 2nd, and loads of other great prizes. Peace, love, joy, and the island's biggest Christmas sweepstakes. Only from Kirk Freeport. Full details on kirkfreeport.com. Merry Christmas from Kirk Freeport.
At KFC, we believe you don't have to share a last name to be a family. Whether it's an office party, holiday fete, or family gathering, enjoy KFC's fresh, hand-breaded finger-licking good chicken. The KFC Festive Feast includes 10 pieces of original recipe or spicy chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, tasty coleslaw, and warm biscuits. KFC's holiday catering menu includes buckets of hot wings, sweet chili wings, or chicken tenders. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
RC Fusion featuring Billboard pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion.
Brought to you by Country and Western. No mess, no fuss, just the best in Caymanian cuisine at a price you can afford.
Country and Western now offering delivery. Call 945-4079.
RC Fusion. RC Fusion.
Having a party at the beach or a team building exercise at the park? Reserving your cabana is easy with the Public Works Department online booking system. Create your account and use the online calendar to pick your desired date and facility. You can even pick the cabana you want to use. Look for your confirmation email, print it off, and bring it with you as proof of reservation. Enjoying our natural environment has never been so easy. Visit www.eservices.gov.ky to book your cabana today.
Paramount Carpet Cayman Brack pre-Christmas blowout sale is back for 2 days only, Friday, December 14th and Saturday, December 15th. Save big with up to 75% off a selection of tiles and carpets. Wall and floor tiles as low as $10 per box. Universal mats from as low as $5 a pair. And up to 15% off many more items. Paramount Carpet Cayman Brack pre-Christmas blowout sale, Friday, December 14th, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday, December 15th, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Followed by the Children's Christmas Party
at Spot Bay Park, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Paramount Carpet, Cayman Brack, located 3436 Spot Bay Road. Call 948-2665.
We do a whole lot more than just cover your floor at Paramount Carpets.
We are Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I'm gonna walk them golden stairs, 'cause I know my Jesus answers all my prayers.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Praise time.
Give me Jesus in the morning. For the God of the mountain is still God in the valley.
Shout with joy to God, all the earth sing glory to His name. Praise time. Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. We're hoping to be able to, have an opportunity to speak to some individuals with respect to the ongoing discussions relative to the proposal to do some work up in the Barkas area. Some of you may have been involved in that. Some of you may have been signing the petition. Some of you just want more information. As we gather tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock at the John Greer Memorial Church Hall, there's going to be a public meeting. Presumably, not just the residents in the Shores area or the Power Road area or West Bay in general, but for the country in particular to come out. I want to ask of you a question, though. So this morning, I had a chance to chat with a couple of recent graduates, and they were asking the question, why is it that when issues, they highlighted 3 issues, the landfill, the port, and now this proposal for the Barkas area, sharing that why is it when these things come to light, for some reason, we see it as an issue that is only particular. So the port issue perhaps is seen as an issue for Georgetown, so is the dump for Bordentown, and then now is it that this issue relative to the works and the proposed development in the Barkas area just a West Bay issue? Their view is that these are national issues. Yes, they would probably more immediately impact the surrounding communities and the neighbours and the like, but it isn't just the expenditure, it isn't just the economic impact, but why is it that we are not that concerned or looking at how this is going to translate from the country's perspective? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or if you want, you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us as we hope to have. Now, life is an interesting, sort of undertaking, and some people would recognize quite evidently that things change, and some of the guests who were scheduled to come in have a brief discussion advised us just prior that they had a most unexpected and unfortunate occurrence. So hopefully they get that to resolve, and they'll be able to, or someone will be able to join us and have that discussion so you can hear from them, the whys and the wherefores and the like. But in the meantime, share your thoughts with us, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. And when we're looking at the whole issue of what is happening within the country, I think sometimes some individuals perhaps see it in a different vein. Now, there is open line, and we can talk about any particular issue, but hey, let's do just as you wish. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Now, as we were having a conversation with some individuals earlier, and as we were just sharing the thought process that the country seems to some extent, look at things in isolation. The issue with respect to the development along West Bay Road, and when that was being proposed, we will see the closure and the development as we've seen. There were some people who thought, oh, that was just that group of people, agitating. That was only going to affect them. And it may be a more positive outcome, or it may be, much more than some people recognize. Well, let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I'm good.
Right.
Something I heard a while ago when this man talking about human rights.
Mm-hmm.
The young lady called in and was speaking about it. What he was saying before is that what it meaning is to me, the Caymanian don't have the right of labor in this island. It's just for the expats or what? It's not in the constitution for the Caymanians.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did say that there is no right to employment generally. But if I could ask you, and I appreciate you raising the question, I've asked this of other people. Someone just today, and again on Friday, asked this question, and someone made a similar comment. You know that there are people who are given this employment rights certificate, permanent residency with the right to work. How do you interpret that? What does that mean to you?
If you're a Caymanian or you're married to a Caymanian, it's a different story. But when you will tell me that it's not in the Constitution, everything else in the Constitution, besides that, man, that's ridiculous. The politicians do not care about their own Caymanians that's voting them in there. And as far as I'm concerned, Sterling, I'll make it short and sweet. Everybody should get together and call for early general election, get rid of each and every one of them in there.
Well, maybe that's something you can organize if you feel so late,
Must have been a taste, I definitely would do it too.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, you all have a good day.
You too, sir. You too, sir. He might just do it. But then, sometimes the proof is in the pudding. But to that caller's point, though, is it, and only because, as he shared it, and I've heard it a couple of times, but Friday and again today, I'll give you the context, but beforehand, would you be so inclined and maybe offer up your perspective? Is it your view that this right to work is in a sense that, or is it that it's just an unfortunate term in use of the word, that it isn't intended to be this human right where you have this right to work? It's that, you can find employment, well, you'll be guaranteed and assured that whatever immigration, sort of criteria that you need to satisfy is already done so because this thing guarantees it. Now, how do you think that plays out? And as you share that, I'll relate to you again, just Friday and Monday. Today hasn't started out, from that perspective, and already people have shared the view. One individual, she was of the view that sometimes she thinks it's being deliberately misconstrued by some employers, and she says she doesn't think it's out of ignorance. She just thinks it's just very deliberate that they're saying, oh, but this is a right, and they're misconstruing it. I believe most of us expected that that's not the intent. It's just that, again, we opt to use words. Maybe it was a deliberate choice. Maybe it wasn't, well thought out. Whatever the reason, but her view has been that her, experience in a couple of instances has been that prospective employers have used that as a way to favor one applicant over another because they have this right to work. That was Friday. Today, someone else shared a similar instance, and when it was under the guise of sort of that, what was then the immigration regime, she said here we have this same thing. Now, maybe it's only because today's celebrated as International Human Rights Day that people are looking at it. But what is your view? 949-8837 or 1-800-534-8255. Let's pause, take a very short break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
You need Fidelity Health. At Fidelity, they offer great coverage through a highly rated and trusted carrier, payments I can afford, and with no on-island deductible on all the plans they offer. Best of all, they offered my company 50% back on the first month's premium.
Make the easy switch to Fidelity today and get 50% cash back on your first month's premium until December 31st. Call 949-7822 to make your switch now.
The only bad workout is the one that never happens. Make 2019 the year you commit to fitness. Let King Sports Center put you on the right track with their Get Fit 2019 sale from December 15th to January 15th. 2-for-1 Powerhouse Gym memberships for $600 or a single membership for $325. And call them to find out how you can take an additional $100 off this sale price. 946-5464 or visit kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs. Remember, fit is not a destination. It is a way of life.
Retain your peace of mind by installing a reliable generator, knowing that your family is safe and secure during a power outage. At Corporate Electric, we care about the well-being of our customers and their loved ones. We are the official distributor of Kohler SDMO generators in the Cayman Islands and can conduct a free assessment of your house to suggest the perfect fit. Call us at 946-2277. Visit our website or the Facebook page for more details.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 8949-8837 or 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts. Again, it was a pleasure to be able to speak to the members from the Prospect Community Group as part of their CERT program and allow them to extend a very warm invitation to the Prospect Greater Bay community for a fellowship evening this coming Saturday, 7 o'clock at the Seafarers Hall. And when we think of the communities coming together and working together, finding ways to address common issues, whether it's impact of crime or maybe it's the behavior of some in the community or some who perhaps move about the community. If the community is sufficiently involved and proactive, it can make a difference. And certainly if the community and the residents, the neighbours aren't waiting for government in whatever facet that may be to act. But as someone was sharing with me, when you look at your communities and your neighbours, not only do you know them, do you interact and engage with them, but are you leveraging the resources in a particular community? There may be all sorts of skill sets that are available. How are you leveraging that so that it benefits the community as well? He gave us an example, a particular issue that he was looking at relative to education. And he said that there was instances where certain, I guess you want to say communities, certain zip codes or whatever the word it was that he used to identify the geographic area, there is a element of wealth and affluence and other resources. And by leveraging that, yes, it's to a great extent, perhaps excluding people who don't necessarily live in that area, but it just shows if people can get organized and they can do things that are to the collective good of the community, then it'll make the community stronger. And if each community was to do likewise, then in the end, you'll have a much, much, much stronger, more stable, social harmonious society. And as he was sharing, he said he was trying to consider a particular subject that he wants to pursue, and figuring out what his dissertation will be like. He was sharing his information with me. These are people who are undertaking postgraduate studies, but likewise, they're looking at things. So that example could be, he said, beneficial to the Cayman context. And I was mindful of that when he was sharing, looking at how our CERT programs are starting to really take root. When we look at, the BRAC community in particular, and the phenomenal turnout when that training was organized by the HMCI. Now, in our own communities, are we equally aware of these opportunities? Are we engaged and involved? And are there ways that we can contribute even more? Well, hey, get so involved. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Or you can send us your thoughts on WhatsApp, 925-3261 if you choose. If you prefer, you can share with us and give us your perspective from the whole sort of notion that too many people sometimes sit back and relax and allow other people to do the work, where others feel that there's so much that can be done, but for whatever reason, we're not actively engaged. We had a question from an individual who was asking, to her view, she thought, well, this whole idea of the referendum petition relative to the port has gone somewhat quiet, and it asked us to, well, is it still on? And now that the government has made an announcement that cruise lines are coming on board, and wanted to know, well, has it been a fait accompli, as it were? Are they still trying to gather the petitions? Well, we did not call sort of the known individuals who have been much more vocal, but we reached out to others and who shared it with a question. They are not only actively engaged, but probably at or have exceeded the requisite numbers, but just to make sure that there's a convincing number of people, that there is a push to get other members of the community who want to be involved, who want to have a voice in order to say whether this issue of national importance should in fact be decided in this way, and not only as a political issue. So hopefully we get a chance to update that as well. Here, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Likewise, you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts. Now, someone has WhatsApped and posed this question. Says, why do we vote if there are no guarantee to employment by politicians? They all promise security of jobs for Caymanians. Now, that's how that caller or the listener shared that thought. But what is your view? Should we have within our Constitution a right, as a human right, to employment? Should we, perhaps look at it from the perspective that not enough is being done relative to the notion that we are seeing the general populace being concerned about employment, and to the view of some, perhaps as evidenced by this particular comment from our WhatsApp, that the politicians are really ill-equipped or ill-prepared and are making empty promises, or is it, as some have shared, well, how can you be guaranteed employment? Now, I reflect on the conversation of Friday and of this morning from someone who shared that it would seem that people, not all, but seemingly people who are on a work permit, almost seem to have that guarantee of employment. Is it because, as alleged by many, the work permit holder feels more control, has a a greater sense of forced loyalty, as it were, to the employee because of that work permit? Or is it that, for whatever reason, that level of security and assurance of that employee's loyalty is why the prospective employer would prefer having a work permit? Now, it may or may not be more costly, as some have alleged, but it may be that that cost is one that the employer is willing to continue. Should there be, as this caller shared earlier and this WhatsApp message implies, a right to employment. 8949-949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. When we come back from our break, hopefully we get a chance to reach out to a couple of the individuals, share with you some more of a WhatsApp. But this one simply reads, education is mandatory. Why isn't employment? 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Let's pause and take a short break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
You've got just a little more time to submit your nominations for Round 10 of the Proud of Them award scheme, which recognizes young people reaching new heights of achievement in areas such as academics, sports, culture, business, or community service. The deadline has been extended to this Wednesday after officials say they experienced some technical difficulties with the online form. Visit education.gov.ky to submit a nomination. In international headlines, British Prime Minister Theresa May today postponed Parliament's vote on her Brexit divorce deal with the European Union, acknowledging that lawmakers would have rejected it by a, quote, significant margin. The move averted a humiliating defeat for the government in a vote that had been scheduled for Tuesday, but it throws Britain's Brexit plans into disarray, with the country's departure from the EU just over 3 months away on March 29th. In the U.S., residents walked instead of driving cars, and children enjoyed another day of building snowmen, with school canceled today after a wintry storm dropped snow, sleet, or freezing rain across 5 southern states. Accidents on snow-covered interstates caused major delays over the weekend, and hundreds of flights were canceled. Drivers in North Carolina and Virginia got stuck in snow or lost control on icy patches. At least 2 deaths were reported in North Carolina. NASA's Voyager 2 has become only the second human-made object to reach the space between the stars. NASA said today that Voyager 2 exited the region of the sun's influence last month. The spacecraft is now beyond the outer boundary of the heliosphere, some 11 billion miles from Earth. Despite the distance, flight controllers are still in contact with Voyager 2. The Voyagers launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida in 1977. Those are your headlines. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. If you want to WhatsApp, 925-3261. You can share your thoughts with us equally. Give us a perspective. And it is something that I was just looking at quickly. During the last break, someone shared a view in relation to development and Cayman. The break is long, but my apologies, not long enough to have read what was sent through. But just as I quickly, went through the whole issue, the person is commenting on development and progress and the fact that it seems, again, this is just a cursory view of what was sent through. Seems the person is sharing that there is a view within some of the community that we can't have development. We've got to stave off this level of progress. And the person is asking, well, are we also willing to consider how that would affect the continued stability and prosperity, not just the economic viability of the businesses, but of the country through the government's ability to raise taxes and the like. It references two things. It says the government's proposal to develop the port. Well, if that's going to pump $1 billion into the economy through the construction and financing, but if it's not something that the government is going to be directly responsible for financing, isn't that good? The amount of employment and the jobs that it creates, the potential for opportunity. Yes, this message acknowledges, as referenced by it, that even the government sees the potential impact to the environment, but the person shares you have to be content that the government is going to do everything it can to mitigate the potential negative consequence. The person also references, well, okay, up in the Barkas area is turtle grass. We're going to move some 200,000 square feet or so of turtle grass, but again, opens up the area to development. It gives another boost to the economy. It allows visitors to see more, and hopefully, provides opportunities for those who want to get into business. Now, your view, this person's views. Do you think they're, what do you think of those? 949-8037. We want to drive the engines of commerce. We got to make some sacrifices. Well, how do you balance that? What is your thought? 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Now, some of you may counter and say, well, okay, yes, we do, but do we need to do it all now? What about tomorrow? What about the next generation? Is there a way to balance that whole issue? Is there a way to still have the development and it be sensitive and respectful to not just local customs and norms, but the potential environmental impact isn't such that you lose everything, that you end up in a process destroying that thing which was that thing that attracted you in the first place to developing, to having the visitors to our shores and the like. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Share your thoughts as you wish. Now, the other issue that was brought to us was, the fellow said that, here's his business, and with the question with the Christmas coming up, many people are, maybe because they feel obligated, maybe because it was their intent all year, that this time of year they're spending more money, buying gifts for others, being a little more festive and the like. Now, he said he's found that he's been approached by more and more sort of vendors of security services to sort of beef up his security. Almost an expectation that with it being the Christmas season, people are going to, be a little bit more minded to engage in criminal activity. He thought, well, that's going to increase costs and whatever potential profits that he could have made now have to be expensed against, as in current costs of securing the premises and the like. Now, he also questioned, what is it that we're doing about crime? How do we not only protect the businesses and the employees, but the customers? And then when they take their goods home, how do we ensure that they're not victims either of people who are seeing it? He says that many places talk about little safety tips. If you buy a new item, perhaps somehow discard the box discreetly. Now, in the past, people would just put it out for collection. Some would recycle it, but his question is, why do we have to employ such strategies? you bought a new TV, for instance, and you put your box out with your garbage. That should not be an invitation in his mind for a potential criminal to say, hey, new television's in that house, let's help ourselves. He says that the bigger issue is that we're not, in our society, sufficiently developing the mindset that we need to respect other people's, property, and we're almost expecting and certainly accepting that, people are going to break into your houses and your businesses and rob and steal. Now, as I listened, to what was shared, is it a case that we are believing that this is a price that we have to pay for progress, and we just factor that in, as he now says he's doing? His security costs are going to increase because of the need to sort of surveil the premises that much more during this time? Or should it not be, as our forefathers expected and enjoyed, that this is a time where people are more helpful, that instead of trying to do harm or hinder others, that they're reaching out a helping hand? Your thoughts, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. And as we had shared, we were hopeful that some of the individuals who were involved with this issue relative to, sort of what is proposed and being discussed relative to the Barkas area, to come on and give us a perspective. Some of you may have heard about it in the media, may have been involved, may have even signed the petition. There is a meeting at the John Gray Memorial Church Hall scheduled for tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. We understand, the applicant will be in attendance as well, and hopefully Mr. Handel would be able to give a perspective. I was off island when the meeting in West Bay at the school hall, and Mr. Hydes was there, and from just what I heard from others and what was reported in the media, seemed it was a lively discussion. People were engaged. When I got back, I had a chance to reach out to a couple of individuals, and it was encouraging to see someone shared that the communities are getting involved. Now, whether it's that issue, whether it's the issue of the port, whether it's the discussions relative to the formation of the certs within the various communities, as people start to take ownership and a vested interest in their communities, then we can see that potentially the future is promising and full of great potential. But as one individual shared, it seems that too many people are still unwilling to get involved, that they fear for their jobs, or they feel that if they speak out on one particular issue, that may be construed that, well, they obviously are aligned with this group, or they're opposed to that group, or that they're in favor of this. And he says, in his instance, this is just his view, whereas he is, very much keen to see the government move forward with the port project. He would not want to see, any sort of wanton destruction and development in the Barkas area. Now, for what it's worth, he says, yes, he's Caymanian, not a West Bayer necessarily, and although he doesn't frequent that area, but what it represents at this time, he doesn't believe that it would be in the country's best interest to develop it to an extent. He shared that he had a chance to travel recently, and looking at where he went, he said you would not think that there were any sort of remote areas that you can get to, because everything seems to be so densely populated. Now, he shared that for those who travel to New York frequently, as he does, this whole idea of what is Central Park is what vision, he thought, it was to be able to, with such foresight and conviction, set aside such a large area. Now, it may not be as nice as it could be. It may not be used as properly as it can be. But anyone who has ever lived in big urban industrialized areas and the like certainly would welcome having a green space he shares that in the Cayman context. Are we cognizant of the height of our buildings, the limited sort of views that we have of our waters when we're going, to and fro, the impact that it may have on light and the like, and how that could affect other areas. And as we're looking at some of these issues, are we taking notice of what has happened in other parts? All right, let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, welcome back again, man.
I just want to go back to the subject of the human rights. First, Dwayne claim he not committing individual cases.
All right. Just sorry, before you continue, I don't know if it's my end or yours or if it's the gremlins in between, but I'm not hearing you good. Are you on speaker? Is there an issue? I can't hear you that well.
Good. Yes. So he claimed he not committing as a human rights committee individual. So this doctor, the one was in the Truman Borden Law School, it wasn't an individual case. How much the Human Rights Committee fight for that doctor, to get his right as gay. But there are, it seems, pick and choose the Human Rights Committee in this country. Pick and choose what they want to fight for and who they want to fight for. They are not interested, Mr. Smith not interested to fight for the rights of the local indigenous Caymanian people. And I don't see him fit to be in that position. That's why I think after last conversation I have with the new governor, I have some conversation with him recently because he's interested in the matter of human rights in this country, and that's why I'm going to write him a letter, put the reasons why this Austin Smith is not capable to be the head of the Human Rights Committee and the failure, and I will put the reasons why the failure of Mr. Smith and the Human Rights Committee to address the concern of the Caymanian people and the people who live in this country in general. And I think the issue of human rights is very important to His Excellency, the new governor. After that conversation I have with him, and especially free speech in this country and the abuse of human rights from the immigration department, from the immigration board, and those issues the governor promised to address. And I have to address all these matters in my letter, which I promised His Excellency to write him a letter to explain to him the issue of human rights situation. There is a lot of people in this country, Dwayne, who is members of international human rights committees and human rights organizations. I give you example. We have a Caymanian who is always in conference in representing, this country in the as a human rights activist in all international conference. I think Nick Robson is the person who is capable to be the head of a human rights commission in this country, because he knows this country. He bore all his life. He's a Caymanian. I think we need somebody who knows this country very well, not people like Mr. Smith, who is incapable to be the head of this human rights committee. We have to address so much things: the child abuse, the abuse by immigration department. Just recently, this issue of Cuban immigrants who's been put in a filthy place to even animals couldn't live in that filthy place. The immigration detention center should be somebody punished for that detention center, which is I think Immigration Department needs now. It is the time to bring a head of Immigration Department who know what is a human right, who know what is the right of people, and he is not involved in politics to be influenced by this MLA and that MLA and this minister or that minister. Order him to make some abuse to individual who just his only fault in this country, he is voicing his voice and defending the Caymanian people. I think we need to see the governor take a part in bringing a human rights committee who is really know this country, know what is the abuse in this country, know what is the abuse of human rights in this country, and then we need the governor to address the issue of appointing a chief immigration officer who respects the human rights, respects the rights of individuals in the country. Every day we hear every day we hear that there is a man who have children which the Immigration Department wants to deport from this country, and he never commit no crime, nothing. It's just because a politician don't like that individual, call the acting chief immigration officer, and he starts threatening me and others to be deported from this country.
All right. Fair enough. Let's take another call or hit the break. Which one, Miss Susan? Hit the break. All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Grill up and breakers, man, that is the place for traditional Cayman cuisine. Oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch, lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
Stay connected and share your favorite holiday moments with Flow. Pick up the Alcatel A1 from $70 or the Samsung J2 Pro, packed with sweet features from $130. Every week you can win cash and prizes in our Cash Cube when you top up. Also check out our weekly top-up specials. Visit Flow's Facebook and Instagram pages to follow the deals. Plus, top up $25 or more for plenty chances to win great Flow holiday prizes. So make it Flow for everything mobile this Christmas. Visit discoverflow.ky for more. Terms and conditions apply.
I am worried about my employees' health insurance. Are there any companies out there that I can rely on for great coverage, affordable payments, and who will work to make the switch as easy as possible? Or am I asking for too much?
You sound like you need Fidelity Health. At Fidelity, they offer great coverage through a highly rated and trusted carrier, payments I can afford, and with no on-island deductible on all the plans they offer. Best of all, they offered my company 50% back on the first month's premium.
This is too important. Today's the day I'm switching to Fidelity Health.
Make the easy switch to Fidelity today and get 50% cash back on your first month's premium until December 31st. Call 949-7822 to make your switch now.
So you made Santa's list this year? What do you want for Christmas?
All I want for Christmas is a new car or truck or SUV and a too picky.
Yeah, you're not cheap either. Just a car. You know, Van Motors still has your sale, your choice going on. You can save thousands on purchase price, extend warranty or service, upgrade to a sports package, or give your savings to someone else.
You mean you gonna save when you buy that car for me? My gift to you is letting you use $1,000 you save for yourself.
Your sale, your choice at Vamped Motors. Save up to $6,000 on selected vehicles. You decide how you want to save, spend, or do both with up to $6,000. Your sale, your choice at Vamped Motors, Walker's Road.
Come along with me so that you will see the best company for your road safety. You'll get the theory, you'll get the road. From the best driving school that you can afford. Hi, I'm Berman Scott from the Real Thing Driving School. You can find us on Facebook. Call me on 925-5094 or call 922-6223. You'll get the real thing. Yes, it's the real thing. You'll get the real thing. The Real Thing Driving School. Consultation, orientation. Come get your lesson. The Real Thing Driving School.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line 949-8037 or 925-3261 if you want to WhatsApp. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Bain.
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I'm a little bit irritated at the moment.
Oi.
But anyway, I'm a born Caymanian. I consider myself an endangered species. When I listen to the last caller and listen to what all of the baloney that he comes up with, I would like to know what he's doing here. If he's not satisfied with his country, why doesn't he leave? I know people would give him a free one-way ticket to wherever part of the world he wants to go to, just to get him off this island and being a nuisance to the public. And I think Radio Cayman, I don't care what kind of human rights they want to enforce, need to deal with him because he's criticizing people without any support, I believe, to accuse people of all sorts of things. And I just get sick of hearing people that come here. That's why I consider myself an endangered species. I have no problem with people that want to come here and live like us, want to mix with us. I have no problem with that. But don't come here and try to tell us how to run the country when they run from their own country to save their own lives. So I'm tired of hearing that particular one especially, and I wish you would do something about it because I think my human rights are being abused when I got to listen to someone like that on the radio. Thank you very much.
Interesting. But the question is, where do you draw the line? You know, today is me, tomorrow is you, the day after. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Will we ever get to the point where we can have meaningful public discourse, even if it's critical and condemning, it's still constructive? And, points to be made on 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Let's see what's on the other line. Hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Steve Banks.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Thankful to good Lord. How are you and the family and the people who are in Radio Cayman, Miss Susan, and one of maybe sitting in for her. She can't get in trouble calling people by name, but anyway, I'd like to say something about JJ too. I hear that he's been getting in something else soon now, but anyway, we don't want him to go.
He's an amazing fella. Huh?
I like to have him up for the hurricane and other things, good gospel music on Sunday night and so on like that.
That's
anyway,
true.
we appreciate you all. We wish you all God wish you blessing for the blessed Christmas and Happy New Year from me, my family, and all others with the same. Thank you all for Radio Cayman. Staying there with us, being with us.
Yes, sir.
And thank God for those that Sidine was speaking out for you while you was off for your vacation. Thank God for the little break they had. But you needed it and you deserved it. So we're not jealous about that. And we thank you for the callers before. Everybody has his privilege to say. And in the last caller, he spoke what he had on his chest, I guess. So we wouldn't hurt him for that either. But anyway, I was heard you mention something about Barcos.
Yes, sir.
You said anything about Barcos today. I've been hearing something concerning, but I must have been listening to the talk show, but I've been hearing different things about someone who won't dredge up there. Someone won't kill the last little lobster, last little conker wilk or whatever it is that up around there with it. The turtle grass and all that with the turtle feeds on it, so on and that week. But anyway, I'll try to get another time short. So one candidate was running a few years ago. He had on his anyway, in his speech, he say, "Say Barcus."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something of the topic that got up today too. Say Barcus. And I would join in with that and say Barcus. I'm very concerned about Barcus. You know, I born and raised up there, and I
Yes, sir.
won't see anything. And other people have been particularly raised up there. So, themselves, not only me, but many, you know, that wasn't living in Barcus. They had now born and raised there.
Mm-hmm.
They still love Barcus, all they get out and so many more.
Yes, sir.
Just alone sailing, Boston boats and boat door race and all these things, you know, and we would want to see it destroyed. Not that everyone destroy it by certain things, but I mean you can overdo it by occupying it too much with buildings, you know.
Right.
I disagree if somebody want to put down a cottage and something like that and so on like that, but then again when we're gonna go put down, you know, when we start dwelling up that's it, you know, where I go. But anyway, I would say this, that let's try and take care of it and not to develop it, you know, and we need to leave something for the turtles to crawl and somebody want to go do a little camping and like how they used to been doing and somebody the crabs and so on. I'll be all cocoa plum trees, might be all but go on up too. But you know, the place that some everybody like to go Barcus, you know, how they get supplies from up there, wood, firewood and you name it, you know. So just for the good health that had been, we should preserve it, you know. So I thank God for those that are seeking after trying to preserve it. I give them 100% support for that. Not that we disagree with developing up, and you know, you got to get buildings going and so on and that, and find employment for people. But then again, we got to say something too. And it's a good place. That's sand ground. They call it look like black sand. We call it sand ground. It's good for planting potatoes, corn, and yam or whatever you want to plant, or peas or whatever. It's a good cultivating land as well. Just keep it blocking from too much salt spray, and you get a good breed kind. But I guess some people say today we can get beer from foreign, but then in those days we had to depend on what we could raise for ourselves, and then at the same time you catch a little fish, and then you got a breed kind. Yeah. So we got to try to take care of Barcus, and you know there's such a strict thing about it with the lobsters, you know. But if you're going to start destroying it, where you're going to get lobsters from? I mean, you know, it is a breeding place for the creatures there that we need, you know. Anyway, Mr. Ebanks, I don't know how much time left anybody else to call, but anyway, I just put in my little piece there. We said I was joined with the rest of the people say Barcus.
Yes,
and
sir.
with accesses to the beach, we need to keep them open. If they have been growing up, we need to clear them up. Never know when time an ambulance going to be going on to pick up, help save somebody from dying, you know what I mean? So I drop in my little piece today and hope to hear from you sometime soon again, Mr. Devine. Good talking with you and thank you for the privilege you gave me. And
yes, sir.
a few words on your talk show. And my wife and all the family sending their love to you and to you all. And let's continue praying one for another and praying for the bereaved hearts. And we came on Ireland and do throughout the world. Okay, Mr. Devine. May good Lord bless.
Amen.
Keep us till we hear from one another again. We see one another.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, too, for sharing. And as caller shares, you know, what about tomorrow? You know, we do it all today. And if we don't do it with sufficient respect, are we doing ourselves a disservice? Hey, thanks for sharing. And hopefully you'll join us again tomorrow for more talk today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Until then, be blessed.
Brown.